Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the show that lets you know how the Steelers did the day before by how we're celebrating. Is it a hangover like the kind you get when you're depressed and you're washing your sorrows away? Or is it one of those hangovers that is just simply awesome, Tony? Welcome to the hangover, my friend.
Good to be here as always. I think I have to say it was a pretty awesome hangover. I don't feel too bad. It's like a few Miller Lights, take care of business, and it's good.
My name is Bryan Anthony Davis alongside Tony Defeo. And it's really funny because on the show after that game yesterday, after the Steelers defeated the Cincinnati Bengals in week 10 by a great score of 36-10, a lot of people were accusing me of being hungover and drunk. And I wasn't at all because you know me, Tony. I don't drink.
No, you don't drink. I mean, you could accuse me that you might have had a valid reason, but certainly not you.
Well, absolutely. So welcome to the hangover. The Steelers are 9-0. We've got some great friends coming into the live chat. Remember, we can't do this without all of you, the Brads, the Dennises, the Just Me's, the Bens, the Marks, Mark from Down Under, our boy.
Absolutely.
So we really appreciate it. Dennis Sheridan's going to have my drinks for him. For me, he's going to go ahead and drink. Captain Underpants is here too. So great to see all of you. So let's check this out, Tony. The Steelers, never in history have they been 8-0. Now they're 9-0, and they are in a position to possibly clinch the division. They could conceivably clinch the division if they win their next two games.
Yeah, I mean it's right there for them. I mean their magic number is basically 3. If they win next week and the Ravens lose and they beat the Ravens, they're the division champs.
Yeah, so it could come down to a great turkey day. So you could be high on tryptophan and you passed out and trying to watch this game because I know that turkey hangover. That's a different kind of hangover for me. But you can be watching that game and knowing that the Steelers could possibly win the division if they take care of business this week in Jacksonville and take care of business on Thanksgiving night at home against the Baltimore Ravens. So that's a question I want to ask you. And it was great because Dennis just mentioned, I never felt so weird rooting for the New England Patriots because it's weird. And one of the reasons we do the rooting guide is to talk about how weird it possibly can be, to root for some of these teams. Some of these weeks, I tell you, you need to root for the Cincinnati Bengals. Some of these weeks, I tell you that you need to root for the Patriots. And the last couple of weeks, that came true when the Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans, and now the New England Patriots in the driving rain beat the Baltimore Ravens, and they look like a different team too. So what are your thoughts on the Ravens, Tony?
I don't know. I think it comes down to can they win a game on Lamar Jackson's arm? And so far, they really haven't shown the ability to do that, at least consistently, and certainly not in important games like last night in the 2 playoff games that he's been in so far. So I think they might be real in a little bit of trouble if they can't figure out the offense.
So here we go. Now I've been corrected here, and he's correct. DJ2YT only says we can eliminate the Ravens, but not the Browns on Thanksgiving, and that's true. That's a possibility. The Browns do have a pretty good schedule, but they are the Browns. But for me, look, I don't want to discount the Cleveland Browns at all, but if you could knock out the Ravens, let's say that. If you could knock out the Ravens by doing that week, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I think they're your only true contender for the AFC North crown. I'm sorry, but the Browns, they're always going to be the Brownies until they prove otherwise. So I'm not. I think in a way they clinch the division no matter what happens with the Browns if everything unfolds the way we hope it does with the Ravens and the Steelers between now and Thanksgiving.
So let's keep our eyes on the Cleveland Browns as well. And I do agree with you, but it's just at the beginning of the season, the Ravens just seemed so untouchable. That's who everybody's favorite team was. Colin Cowherd was saying they're going 16-0. The Steelers are going 7-9. Guess what, Colin? That's not happening.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they have Roethlisberger back, and we said all last year, you get him back, and it's going to make a world of difference. I mean, it's not going on a limb to say that, but here we are. It's true, and he's playing the best football of his life. I said yesterday, he's more surgeon than he is gunslinger this year, and I think that's a pretty apt description of him.
So, as excited as we all are for this game, for the fact that the Steelers had what I thought was a statement game against the Cincinnati Bengals, there are still some naysayers. There's still national media that's saying that the Steelers are the worst 9-0 team that you've ever seen. Dave Schofield went ahead and put out his article, if you did not get a chance to check it out, with the historical implications of 9-0. Every single team that has gone 9-0, 100% of them go to the playoffs. So that's a good thing. I know everybody's expecting playoffs at this point, but playoffs are no longer the goal. The goal is Super Bowl and beyond. So here we go. What we're looking at here, Tony, is the fact that with that not being the goal, and we're really excited, Steelers had a bad game last week against Dallas. They still won, so it's not exactly a bad game. It's a good game if you win, but you feel a little dirty afterwards because you're not proud of it. You're like thinking, oh my gosh, is this whole thing crashing down around us? Was this a get-right game for the Steelers, Tony?
Well, I think it was. Last week, I mean, that was, people forget, that was their third straight road game after two very physical games against two really good teams. So I mean, in retrospect, you look at that and go, maybe I can see why they struggled a bit against the Cowboys. And like I said, the Cowboys were desperate. They were looking to stay in contention in the NFC East. So yesterday's game, I think, last time they were at Heinz Field, they dismantled the Browns 38-7. And yesterday they took care of business against the Bengals, which is what you expected them to do. So it was absolutely a get-right game. It shows you how good they can be when they're playing at home and everything's clicking on offense and defense.
Now, not only did it get right, now here's the bigger question. I'm going to ask you this, Tony. Has the Steelers put the rest of the NFL on notice? Have they done that?
If they didn't after 9-0, then people are just not paying attention. Yeah, they have absolutely put everybody on notice for sure. I mean, how can you not? Everybody said that they weren't going to make it through that 3-game road trip without losing at least one time. They did that. So, when people talk about, it's the worst 9-0 team ever. Well, if they were the worst 9-0 team ever, they probably wouldn't be 9-0. They'd probably be 5-4 or 4-5. Mediocre football teams they have a tendency to lose to other mediocre football teams, and they have yet to lose to any football team. So, they're definitely, if you're not paying attention, then shame on you after 9 games.
That's true. So here's another question that I have now, Tony. So when you look at the Steelers, everybody today saying, okay, yeah, they won. They won by 26 points. That's great, but the running game stinks. And, I was one of them. I'm not going to lie. I was concerned about the running game. Not concerned, but I was saying, well, they need to fix the running game. But the more that I thought about it, when I was listening to Pittsburgh Sports Radio and everybody's talking about how bad the running game actually is, Tony, is it that bad? Or are they not really, are the Steelers not really keying on trying to run because they have the Todd Haley running game from a few years back when Ben throws the ball 46 times, those short little passes that get a lot of yards? Is that a way of saying, hey, we're just going to run the ball this way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, teams have done this in the past. The Patriots, other teams. I don't think the Chiefs were they great at running the ball at the end of the year last year. I don't know. But if you have a quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger and you have the receivers that they do, and now Ebron's becoming a bigger and bigger weapon for them at tight end, you want to see them get the running game started. Of course, you want them to be effective at that, but they're gonna win or lose based on the passing game because that's just how they're built on offense. So you would like to see them get better, and it's been three pretty substandard games on the ground, but I'd be more concerned if they couldn't pass the ball. Then, to be honest with you, I'm more, I'm not as concerned as other people are about the running game.
Now, Ezra, a great friend of the show, he mentions that no, Connor gets important yards in crucial moments for the team, and he really does. I don't think this is as much of a Connor problem, with a lot of people saying that Connor's bad, because he had some brilliant games in the first couple weeks of the season, not week one, but second, third, fourth game of the season. He looked pretty good in those games, Tony. Why are they pass blocking so well, but the run blocking just isn't there?
I just think that they're built more for that. Honestly, I just think that the line is built more for protecting Ben. I think that's what they're used to. And how often does he line up under center anymore? I think I heard a stat on the radio today that said he lines up in the shotgun 77% of the time, and that's how, of those percentages, how often do they hand it to Connor out of the shotgun? So I just think they're built for that, and they're not the idea of the 3 yards in a cloud of dust and everything. That's just not how things are anymore. So I don't know what's the deal is with the running game lately, but they're still averaging 30 points a game. So I think and they were 4 for 5 in the red zone yesterday. So I think those are more important stats as far as the offense than the running game.
I agree with that completely. 98671X says they stack the box, so why not throw over them? Yep, if they're going to do that, you can. Now, Nicholas Gabriel, he throws in $2 in the tip jar. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Appreciate it. Lateral zone runs aren't working. Can't watch it. So what are your thoughts about those kind of runs, Tony?
Well, yeah, I think Connor's more of a straight ahead runner. I think we've said that. And as far as like the jet sweep and everything, it appears that teams are starting to pick up on that. So maybe it's just a matter of more straight ahead running and simplifying things with the running game, as opposed to trying to run outside and trying to do the jet sweeps and everything like that.
Has the rest of the NFL figured out the jet sweep?
It would appear so as of yesterday, but they were going to do that eventually. And I think Jonathan Vilma, as much as he's been vilified, maybe rightfully so for his analysis, he did point out that you gotta keep them honest and fake the jet sweep and hand it to Connor more often. So maybe that's the answer to opening that play back up is faking the jet sweep and handing it to Connor.
Killshot's new to the stream. He says, hello, Steeler Nation. Welcome, Killshot. Appreciate you in there. Overtime Dad says this. I don't think Connor is a great lateral runner, but I don't blame him. Just call the lateral runs with McFarland in. And McFarland was out because of an illness. Run Connor up the middle where he does his best work. Connor's a north-south runner. Yeah. And when you've got that north-south game going and he could run downhill, he's absolutely phenomenal, Tony.
He is. And I mean, you saw how good he was the first half of the year. I just think it's when you look at our running back's overall body of work, there's usually 2 or 3 games there somewhere in the season where you go, wow, he only gained 50 yards in that game or 40 yards or whatever. But at the end of the year, he has 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards. So, this could just be like one of those stretches for them where they're struggling on the ground and maybe they'll get it going maybe as quickly as this week against the Jaguars.
Vea says he keeps bouncing it to the outside when it's clearly not there. Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, I believe he's more of a north or south guy. And if you can get that game back in, look out. Check that out on Let's Ride. Jeff talked about that this morning on his morning show. And then also, if you check out Michael Beck tomorrow on the live mic, he's going to be talking about the Steeler running game and how it could curtail the Steelers from winning the Super Bowl. So that begs the question, Tony, with the run game not eating up clock, but have the Steelers really found a way to just I don't want to say revolutionize this because this is West Coast offense, but have the Steelers really found a way to just forget about the running game and say, hey, this is how we can beat you. You know we're going to do it. I dare you to stop it.
I just think that's just their personality. I think none of us should be really shocked that Ben wants to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. That's just his MO. And, you know, he's I think what their average yards per play yesterday was 5.7. That's just how he wants to do it, you know. And I think he wants the ball in his hands, and if they can use the short passing game like a running game, you know, with a quarterback like Roethlisberger who's cleaning like 70% of his passes, I think you're in pretty safe hands there as far as having a pseudo running game if the real running game's not working.
Is this the most intriguing version of Ben Roethlisberger you've ever watched in 17 years?
It absolutely is, and it's you can see him. He knows he can read defense, and people have always accused him of doing it. Obviously, he probably could always read defenses, but he's doing it better now than ever. He's orchestrating things now better than he ever has. He's orchestrating his receivers now better than he's ever done in the past. It's really a great thing to watch. And as I said before, maybe that year off, as much as it sucked for everybody, maybe it was one of the best things that ever happened to him as far as him being able to learn the game from the sidelines.
So DJ2 TYL only, he changed his name for us. He's now DJ2. He said he was going to do that. So he says the biggest problem with the run game is this. If I am sitting on my couch at home saying, here comes a run, and I'm right 90% of the time, that's a major problem. That's me. Imagine Harbaugh. You know, I get it. So I want to ask you this. Are they just running the ball at times because conventional wisdom says you have to? I
think so. I think it's the old football stuff. Look at here's a criticism of him. He said, "Oh, in AFC North football, you have to run and play defense." No, you don't. You have to have you have to be able to pass the ball, and that's where football is in 2020. And I just think, you know, we're looking for, in a lot of ways, we're looking for reasons to be upset. I mean, they scored 36 points. They were 4 for 5 inside the red zone. Who cares how you get it there, how you get it done? Just get it done. And I think, you know, we all knew that they were going to live or die with Ben. So right now they're living and doing really well with Ben. And if they don't do well in the playoffs, if they lose, it's not going to be because they couldn't run the ball. It's going to be because Ben didn't play well or their defense played poorly, as far as I'm concerned.
Rob House says this: AFC North football, you have to beat Baltimore, Tony. I got to tell you, this begs another question. Can they beat Baltimore by passing the ball like this all the time?
I think they could beat anybody if they're on their game. I think they have the weapons for it. They have the quarterback for it. He's arguably the greatest quarterback they've ever had, and he's certainly one of the best that's ever done it. And he's an MVP candidate as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, they could beat Baltimore passing the ball. They did it 2 weeks ago. So why not at home in front of the home fans on Thanksgiving night?
You know, Kreese says this. They did the first game. Vea says nope, they can't. So you know, this is a nice. This is what I love about our live chat. Everybody has a valid opinion, and I definitely appreciate it. You know, real quick, we were talking about Jonathan Vilma, and you mentioned a vilified. I'll call it Vilmified. And I don't know if you knew this, but he was picked right after Ben Roethlisberger in that 2004 draft. And I say that's because everybody knows that, because he said it a million times.
Yeah.
And Dave Schofield wants to have a drinking game that you drink every time Jonathan Vilma says that. But the problem with that is that you might not live.
Yeah, he did bring up 04 a lot. Although this is his first year in the booth, so I guess maybe he has some growing to do as a commentator. But I was shocked that he was on their game of the week team. So I guess they must have thought a lot of them at Fox to put him on that. Was it Eddie Albert? I think that's who it is.
Ken Albert.
Oh my God, Eddie Albert.
Eddie Albert, wasn't he on Green Acres or something?
Yeah, he was in The Longest Yard. So that's a football reference.
Yeah. All right, yeah. There you go. Nice try on that. You know what? He has potential. I mean, a lot of people hate him already, but you know how I feel about announcers. I love my Collinsworth, love my Michaels. don't like Phil Simms. I'm not sure about Romo yet. So,
Right.
but not a lot of people like Vilma so far, but we'll see. John Knox throws in $3. No question along with it. So if you do have a question, feel free. I will put it to the top of the queue. But thanks for the $3, John. Very appreciated.
He followed up. He has a pretty good point right after that.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I did not see that. There's something in Steelers fans' DNA that tells them if there's not a Franco Harris or a Jerome Bettis performance out of the backfield, then they aren't good enough. Absolutely. That is something that Dave Schofield could put up in his Mythbusters when he does that every once in a while and talks about Steeler miss, because that's definitely, we have to have that power running game. We believe it. When Barry Foster was there, even, when Barry Foster was gone, oh, they can't win without Barry Foster. Well, they went to the Super Bowl the next year with Eric Pegram and Bam Morris, but Bam Morris was one of your pounders though. But you can do stuff with these fast guys, because I'm anxious to see a guy like McFarland break out, and I think he will. But I'm still loving what they have in a guy like James Conner. I don't think that's. I think it's premature to say that the running game is dead right now. They've had a bad couple of weeks, but we were happy with them the first quarter of the season. So we'll see what's going on. But Ben Roethlisberger has definitely changed this offense to the point where he's going to line up in the 5 wide, like you said earlier.
Right.
And he's going to pass. And that's a hard one to stop, because I got to tell you, the Steelers struggle like crazy when you do that to them.
Right. Yeah. When you see like last year, how much the offense struggled without a good quarterback. They could have tried running the ball 50 times a game last year. It wasn't going to work for them, because you need to be able to pass the ball in 2020. And I'd be more worried if they couldn't pass and had a great running game than the other way around.
Well, one last thing we're going to say about the running game, and Doc Holliday, I wanted to call him Doc Hollywood. That was the Michael J. Fox movie. Really good movie. And if you've never seen Doc Hollywood, Tony, that's kind of Cars. Disney's Pixar's Cars was a takeoff, almost inspired by Doc Hollywood. Really good film. So check that out sometimes.
Okay.
But Doc Holliday says, I don't expect us to run for 200 yards a game, but at least some point in the playoffs, we are going to need to protect the lead and run the damn ball. Remember that. I understand that. But my question is, and can they do that though? Can they extend leads? Can they protect leads by doing those short passes and just make that an extension of your running game? And I think that's what they're doing, and they have the horses to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at was it the Tennessee game or the Ravens game? I forget. The one where they decided, the one where Ben ultimately threw it was the Tennessee game where he threw the pick trying to hit Juju in the end zone. They took 7.5 minutes off the clock, and it wasn't all running. It was a lot. It was mostly passing. So I think they could be an effective ball control offense, even if they're not running the ball, out of the power I or whatever. They could still do it with Ben throwing 4 or 5 yard passes and hitting his receivers and them getting yards after the catch.
Absolutely. So we all agree, and some of us will agree to disagree. But here's the best thing that we all agree on. We're loving 9-0. We don't have to worry about 9-0 not being 10-0. Just enjoy 9-0 and take it one game at a time. When I say don't worry about it, we got to worry about Jacksonville. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is enjoy the ride, Tony, while we're on it.
Yeah. I mean, they're playing to their strengths and doing what they do best. And they're 9-0. I mean, that's the thing. This is a passing offense more than it is a running offense. It's been that way since 2016, I guess, when Bell was really strong at the end of the year. So this is what this team is, and that's what it's doing in 2020, and it couldn't be any more effective.
I agree. Now we're going to go to break, but before we do that, I'm going to mention one more thing. The Steelers fans, to me right now, they're in rarefied air. This is 9-0. We've never been here. Our grandparents, nobody. Nope. We have never been here whatsoever. And we're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right. We don't know how to act at 9-0. We really don't, because like I said, it never happened. So it reminds me of Arnold and Willis Jackson or Little Orphan Annie. They get a chance, or we can throw in Punky Brewster as well. They get a chance to go into an environment where they have stuff that they've never had before, and they just don't understand how to enjoy it, because it could go away just like that.
Yeah. So
I say we just enjoy it.
Exactly. I just think it's the nature of being a sports fan, is you're always expecting, you always think the other team has all the answers, and your team looks foolish. Is the one that looks foolish all the time. But the Steelers are obviously, as you said, they put everybody on notice. They're 9-0. They're historically, that's a significant thing. So let's, if a loss happens, it happens. But it's, they still have a great chance to do a lot of special things in 2020.
Where else are you going to get a Punky Brewster, a Different Strokes, and a Little Orphan Annie reference when you're talking about the Steelers? We will find out right after this if any more gems come up on the Steelers Hangover from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Stick around. All right, welcome back, YouTube viewers. You were here all along. If you were on any of our podcast platforms, I am going to say thank you for tuning in to number 2. I should have instructed you to do so, but you've been around. You know the deal. Tony, the Steelers are 9-0. We are feeling good. There's a lot of questions about, can it continue? So I'm going to ask you this. Jacksonville, are the Steelers a team that are going to lapse to a team like Jacksonville?
I mean, could it be a close game? Yeah, but I mean, I fully expect them to go down there and take care of business, because I think they're not looking past anybody in 2020. They haven't so far. I mean, it could be a problem game, but I fully expect them to win that game.
Johnny Tiefel gave us $5 in the live chat. I do appreciate that. And he said, I'm drinking beer, so my comment was not on my super chat. LMAO. Feel free, unless you can't clean that up. But we definitely appreciate you, Johnny. And I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Tony, I am so excited for what I'm watching, because like we keep talking about, we've never had a chance to enjoy this before. And it's really cool. And I remember, gosh, I was in 7th grade, and I remember the Steelers and the Steelers were having a good season, but they were like 3-3 at the time. They ended up going to the AFC Championship game. They're getting ready to play the undefeated San Francisco 49ers and the undefeated Miami Dolphins back-to-back. Mm-hmm. And they go and take on the 49ers, and what happens? They beat them. And that was their only loss that year, 18-1. But I remember looking at the Dolphins and the 49ers in the paper. I could tell you where I was standing. I was in the middle school library reading the newspaper. And I loved the newspaper back then. And I believe it was a USA Today, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm looking at the standings. I'm like, wow, how cool would that be to have the Steelers be the last team undefeated? And I would always think about that with the Pirates, too, when a team would start off the season like 9-0 and they had that win streak to start the season, how cool that would be. And you had maybe 4-0, 5-0 a couple times, and then it would just fall through. But never got a chance to do that and never thought I'd see it, but I'm seeing it this year. And it's reminding me of a different time, 15-1, Ben Roethlisberger's rookie season. But they lost week 2, so you knew you were in a special time because you had the new quarterback and they were on that long winning streak, but it kind of felt you still knew that they weren't going to go undefeated. This is a chance for this team to possibly break the hearts of the Miami Dolphins, 17-0 from 1972. And that Miami Dolphins team beat the Steelers to go to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, and the great thing about this year is it doesn't look like they're going to have an opportunity to take their foot off the gas, because the Chiefs are right behind them at 8-1, so they're not going away. So even if they go ahead and clinch the division in a few weeks, in a couple of weeks, whenever that is, there's only one bye this year. That's how it is now in the NFL. There's only one bye with the new playoff format, 7 teams. So they're going to have to keep going to the end. So that, you don't have to. If you're the Steelers, you don't have to worry about you don't have to have that. You don't face that dilemma of should we rest guys down the stretch? No, because that bye is historically significant as far as making it to the Super Bowl. So they're going to whether they want to do it or not, they're going to keep going for it, because they have to, just to set themselves up for a great chance in the playoffs.
So I'm upsetting a lot of people in the live chat just for the fact that I might jinx them by saying that they could go 19-0 and they can win.
They ain't never gonna lose again. I'm saying ever.
Well, no, you are a natural Yinzer, so that's good. Yeah. And I'm not even trying my Yinzer accent, because I've had somebody from Pittsburgh recently just tell me, where did they go to school? They same place Major Harris went to. Was it Brashear? Is that where Major Harris went to?
I think so. Yeah, he's from definitely Pittsburgh Public School.
Yeah, so she was telling me that no, your Yinzer accent is a little too exaggerated. So I'm going to stop doing it until I can work on it a little bit better. But here's the things: I am not going to try to jinx this team. And Donald says Bad doesn't have the power to jinx the team. That makes me feel good. Thank you. I won't. Even though I'm superstitious and I have a brand new chair, Tony, and I was telling everybody on the preview, I got it for Father's Day, but it didn't arrive until maybe week 4. But I've sat in the same spot for every single Steelers game.
Wow.
And I can't move from that spot to enjoy my new chair yet.
Wow. So you are the reason. Maybe so you're the reason they're 9-0, because I've been all over the place. I mean, I was doing bicep curls during the game on Sunday. So
bicep curls.
Half the time I'm here, half the time I'm at my uncle's house. So it's clearly not me. I'm not the one. So I can write whatever I want and say whatever I want. It's not going to matter. So you're the one. The pressure's on you.
Well, you got to understand how superstitious I am. I once burned my pants in a bonfire because I was 0-5-1. And this is back in 2002. I was 0-5-1 in 6 consecutive games that I went to at Heinz Field.
Wow.
So my friends told me, you better surrender it or we're breaking your house and we're taking those pants. And they were steel camouflage pants that I bought at the stadium. They were like camouflage cargo pants, but the black, gold, and white.
Wow.
And so, I thought they were really cool, but they were dorky.
So I have a question. So you were 0-5-1 in those pants, and this was an 0-2, right? So how long did this streak, how far did this streak span, this 0-5-1 streak? Because they had some pretty good years back then.
Well, I will tell you exactly. No. So it didn't last long. It was actually all in the calendar year 2002. I bought those pants leaving the playoff game.
Wow.
Against Baltimore and Pittsburgh wins the game. They win, I buy the pants. I come back the next week. Steelers lose the AFC Championship game in horrible fashion. Not horrible fashion. It was horrible to me because it was 7 games. Got to see Sheryl Crow at that game. That was awesome. But she performed at halftime, but the way they were playing, I could not soak up the sun like she was asking me to. But I will tell you this. So they lose to New England. So then that next year, I don't go to the opener because the opener was in New England. I go to you were there, the Raiders game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I was there.
That's the game that Lynn Swann blew me off in the concourse in the third quarter. And I'm so upset at him. That year also included, and we just had the anniversary of this, the famous Plexico Burress 254-yard receiving game, the 34-34 tie when they could not stop Michael Vick at all on third down. There was like 2 3rd and 17s, 2 3rd and 18s, something like that. That gave so the final straw, Tony, was when they gave up about 56 yards total to the Houston Texans on offense, and the Texans beat them 24-6.
That those pants were cursed then because that game alone was enough to burn those clothes or to burn those pants.
I can't remember what the other games were, but there was just a few in there that I just they had to take them. So they took them, and right before Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers, the eventual Super Bowl champions, they win.
Yeah.
Because they win the game because in a bonfire, they burnt the pants. And I surrendered them up, and then things went well. The next week, I go to the game. The Steelers are losing to the Baltimore Ravens in the final week of the season. They need to win that game to go to the playoffs. I don't know what happened to my pants. I was visiting my parents, another pair of pants. So I borrowed this really bad pair of jeans, this bad pair of dad jeans. Like they were like tough skins or something. And what I borrowed these jeans to wear to the game. I don't know whether I was out of pants. I don't know what happened, but nobody cares what happened to my pants. And I'm wearing these horrible jeans. I go to the game. They have this tremendous comeback. They win the game. They go to the playoffs. And I didn't continue to wear those jeans, but the streak was over.
There you go.
All in 2002, my friend.
Wow, that was a crazy year though. So I can definitely see jinxed pants coming into play. That was one wild ride in 2002.
I went all the time that year, but every time I went, they would lose.
Wow, that is amazing.
Then we burn the pants, and they were like $60 pants that I bought from like the sideline store.
Yeah, well, you gotta support the team though. Bigger than the team. or the team's bigger than those pants. There you go.
So that superstition, comment that you brought up, that lasted much longer. So let's go ahead and bring this back to Steelers, to the Jaguars coming up this week to 9-0, and let's throw in the Q&A portion of the show for maybe the next 5 minutes. Throw in your questions up on the board, and we will answer them. So Tony, Mike Snowman. Oh, good. I did not see that. So thanks for bringing that up. $5 from Snowman. Are the Steelers 3.5 games up on the Ratbirds since the Steelers won and the Ratbirds lost? Yes. I had been calling them 2.5 games until yesterday. And now I'm calling them 3.5 games. So definitely, because right now you're winning the tiebreaker. Now, the interesting thing about it. Now, here's something to think about, though. If they go ahead and they lose to the Ravens, they will still have that tiebreaker though. At that point, let's just say that they beat Jacksonville. I'm not saying Jacksonville's a given game. Let's just say they beat Jacksonville,
right?
But the Ravens beat the Steelers. The Steelers will have only one loss, and at that point, they will only have one conference loss,
right? Where
the Ravens will have 3 conference losses because they lost to the Chiefs, they lost to the Steelers, and
actually, I think the second for division, the second tiebreaker is division record overall.
But
I guess second tiebreaker, but yeah, you're right. They would still be up.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but they'll still be up. And I tell you what, it's gonna be hard to. I tell you what, we'll just wait and let's just hope they continue to win and we don't have to worry about it. But I really think that they should be. The tiebreaker might not matter because you will still be 2 games up,
right?
With 5 games to go.
Yeah, that'd still be a pretty substantial lead.
Now they've lost one of those before.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yes, and we understand that. But this is a different Steeler team. And the reason I say it's a different Steeler team, they are a lot more mature to be able to handle some adversity. And we've seen it all along. The Gunslinger. I love that name, Gunslinger, with a picture of Ben. I love it.
Yeah, that's good.
$5. A former receiver 1,000 years ago watched Hines Ward's whole career, favorite football player of all time. Juju is threatening the title. I love that. Gunslinger, thank you for the $5. That was awesome. Greatest comment, because Juju is that guy. You know, I saw somebody mention the other day, it might have been Ezra, not the other day, like earlier in the live chat, mention that, too bad if the Steelers win, Juju wouldn't be around to defend his title. We were talking on the preview yesterday. If anybody takes a hometown discount, if it's available to them, I mean, let's not throw in the with what money comments, because they find it in the couches. But what I'm saying to that, Juju's that kind of guy, Tony, that he's making his own brand. And we talked about this on the post-game show yesterday. I really think that he loves Pittsburgh, and he's not the kind of guy that wants to have the title of highest paid receiver. You know who he reminds me of? Larry Fitzgerald.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Because Larry Fitzgerald could have tried the market and tested the market so many times.
And he's absolutely revered in Phoenix. They love him.
Yeah.
Because he stayed there his whole career.
Yeah, and I revere him too. He's absolutely phenomenal. And Juju just reminds me of that guy. Look, he dances. He's a kid. He's going to be 24 in another week.
Yeah.
He's just 24, and we've had him around for all those years. This is the 4th year. And you got to think about it. He is mature beyond his years. I mean, I don't care if he's dancing and celebrating and having fun and playing video games. He has made a brand.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy that would stay.
Right. And he is a brand, and if he becomes a superstar, whether no matter what his contract is, he's probably going to get a lot of money in endorsements. So maybe that's something that he factors into his what kind of contract he's willing to accept here.
Absolutely. So Cree says this: if we tie with Kansas City, do we win the tiebreaker if we have a better divisional record? No. It goes to common opponents at that point, doesn't it, Tony?
Yeah, well, yeah. The first tiebreaker would be a conference mark, and then after that it would be I think it's strength of schedule or strength of victory, and then probably common opponent. It's one of those. But it's definitely not the divisional record wouldn't factor into that.
Dallas says this. Dallas Quinley. Any worries about Ben creating plays? Does this undermine the play calling of the coaches? You know what, Tony? I'll let you take this.
I mean, I think it's great that they trust him in certain situations. They all do that. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they all have a certain amount of creative control at various points of the game. I mean, I think that's what you want. You want your star quarterback to know the offense so well that when it gets into certain situations, he can take over a game. We don't know how much of it he does that. We just speculate 'cause they're not going to say it. I mean, they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, Ben takes over 70% of the time." They're not going to say that. But whatever they're doing, it's effective. So I have no concerns over anything. I'll start having more concerns when they're horrible in the red zone and their scoring goes down.
And I will agree with that as well. Donald Nolan asked this: why won't you guys give someone a Friday video show? It sucks not tuning in on Friday because you've gone in your schedule now. Yeah, that was actually my decision. And I made that decision to go ahead and move off of the Fridays because we had Michael Beck doing the Friday shows. And before that, of course, Lance was doing I Said It on Fridays as well. The problem with Fridays is that's kind of a day off to give some of these guys. So that's what I wanted to do to give it. We thought that Michael's show would be better suited for our AM podcast. You might see maybe in the off season, you might see some fun Friday night shows. I haven't decided yet, but really we have so much on the podcast platform. So it doesn't cost anything. Just if you can go ahead and download it on your phone, just download it on your computer. It's basically a click. And then you when you're done listening, take it off. But that's we've decided to go ahead in that direction, and we have so many shows that are audio only, and they're really good, and they'd give you an opportunity if you're in the gym or if you're driving. I listen to our shows when I'm driving. Definitely don't want to see our faces, but podcast is it's my job as the podcast producer to go ahead and decide on those things. I'm not saying that it's out of the question, because it's not, but we'll see. Maybe that'll happen again. But right now, everything's working because we have so much that's coming out. The other reason that we don't have a Friday night show is because the Friday night show that we would have had, the perfect spot for it, is Touchdown Under. And those guys are 14 hours ahead of us. So that would be really tough too. So that's a look into maybe breaking down the fourth wall and everything. But that's why we don't do it. Double HH. It's almost like Triple H of the WWE, Tony, but double HH. If you both had to guess, which remaining opponent will we be most successful rushing against? And Washington team doesn't count. Here's the thing. I want to jump in on that real quick. I'm not going to answer the question, but the thing about the Washington team, somebody mentioned a few weeks ago, they're like, who's the best team in the NFL? It's the team that the Steelers play right after they play the Ravens. So the Washington football team might give them more of a run for their money, and it might be tough, just like Dallas was. Because it's like, remember when the Penguins used to play the Flyers in the playoffs? They would beat them sometimes,
right?
But they'd be so beat up the next time around, the next series, and it'll be really rough. So, but what's your thought? Who do you think that they could have the most success rushing against?
Oh God, I mean, maybe the Colts. I mean, I don't think the Colts have a very, very good defense. I think they're playing them there, right? That's going to be in a dome.
No, it's in Pittsburgh, and actually, their front seven's pretty tough.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm not sure. Then I don't know. I would say the Browns, because they had a decent success against them the last time they played them. They really controlled the line of scrimmage. So maybe Cleveland, that last game of the year, when everybody's resting, maybe.
It's really weird. I don't know if they are actually going to put. I don't think they're going to put an emphasis on the run as much with the success they're having. But I agree that we might have to look that way. So I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to say that they might have the best time rushing against. I definitely think they can do well against Jacksonville, running the ball. And I would also say that let's go ahead and say Cincinnati again on December 21st.
There you go.
Mr. and Mrs. Steeler, well, Mrs. and Mr. Steelers, just wanted to say, keep up the great work. I'm so grateful to be a part of the best organization in the NFL, and especially this year when so much is set to divide us. Our love of the Steelers overrides it all. Gives us $20. Thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Steeler. Mrs. and Mr. Steeler, I keep messing that up. We can't do this without you guys, and this is a magical year, and it's a good distraction for all the things going on. So that would be great. And I mentioned I mentioned Touchdown Under, and then Mark Davison, he popped up and he said, I hear that Touchdown Under show is golden. Little shameless self-promotion from Down Under.
That's right. You gotta they're brand conscious. That's what you have to do. Yeah.
Dallas asked this, Tony, is Claypool the next Burris?
Whew. I think he has a better chance of being the next a better version as far as character of Martavis Bryant. I think he really has that kind of talent to take over games. Although Burris did too, but I think Claypool's a faster version.
9 touchdowns, 9 games.
Yeah, I mean, he's Rookie of the Year candidate.
Absolutely. I don't think he's going to win it, but he definitely is one. Brad Jewett says, let's everyone talk Vincent. We're going to keep balling. I guess he's talking about Vince Williams. Did you see that tackle yesterday? That guy, he's my favorite. The Pittsburgh Rattlesnake is what they're calling him now.
I love it. Oh yeah, that's well, you know me. I love Vince Williams. He's one of my favorite players. I love his story. I love the fact that he was thrown in there his rookie year kind of like Spillane is doing this year, and he had to learn on the fly. So look where he's at now. So it's a great example for a lot of down the liners when once you get a shot to take advantage of it.
So this is a really good question. I lost it. I believe, was it Ezra that put this up? But who wears 48 better? Patrick Queen of the Ravens or Bud Dupree? I'm saying Alvin every single time. Oh, Dallas put that. I'm sorry, Dallas put that up.
I didn't even know Patrick Queen's number was 48, so I'm gonna have to go with Bud too.
So let's go ahead and we'll take one more question here. And I tell you what, Queen is a beast, and he's going to be one of those guys we are going to hate. But before we do that, one more thing from yesterday. What's your thoughts of Joe Burrow, Tony?
I mean, I like him. I think he's going to be a good one. He just has to, like a lot of young quarterbacks, he's going to struggle. Like a lot of young quarterbacks, he's taken a lot of hits this year. He's up to 32 sacks now. I mean, that's just. They have to build around them. They certainly have the weapons as far as the receivers. They have a good set of receivers and they have good running backs. They just need to build up that offensive line. And I think I think he has a chance to give the Steelers more of more fits than Baker Mayfield and maybe even Lamar Jackson.
So I got to say this. I love watching the guy play. I thought coming into this, I didn't know too much. I thought maybe he would be arrogant. I kind of like his demeanor after the game because Cincinnati, they were all over Pittsburgh, the Cincinnati media, saying that, they had all these late hits on you. They were playing dirty against you. He's like, no, they weren't playing dirty on me. They were helping hold me up and not kill me. and I'm like, he said that? That is so cool that this guy was doing it. We have there's another Cincinnati blog site out there that their headline was Steelers try to injure.
Are they just making this stuff up or what?
Yeah.
Are they just making? I mean, I didn't get that sense at all that was going on yesterday.
So not at all, but I love it. I tell you what, I think he's going to be something special in the future. Look out for T. Higgins as well. This is going to be a rivalry, and let's see how the Steelers grow with it after the Ben years and see how they do that. But you're going to be seeing a lot of Joe Burrow. I think he has the potential. In fact, I'm going to say it right now. And I think he is the number 2 guy in the AFC North as far as quarterback goes. And my number 1 guy is Ben Roethlisberger at this point. But I would take this guy over Baker and over Lamar.
I think he has the total package. He just needs to stay in there, and this is why I say when you have a young quarterback like that, and you throw him in there as quick as possible, because the quicker he's in there, it gets in there, the better he's going to get, or the quicker he's going to get better, as far as I'm concerned.
You know what? I love this. Dean McCrae says this. He mentions, hello, can remember Bradshaw's first year. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his first few years.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Steelers says this, and I'm actually, I think we may not have a dirty rivalry with the Bengals anymore. Yeah, the media hasn't forgotten it. And the Cincinnati media thought they were clean living, and they were fine with Perfect, and thought the Steelers were the dirty ones. It was a really funny thing. They thought Shazier was the absolute enemy, and guys like Hines Ward, they thought Hines was an enemy for what he did to Keith Rivers back in 2008. That they had the Hines Ward role as well. But Tony, I got to tell you this. Let's take one last question and we'll go. Okay. Andrew Wilbar, Bad and Tony, which position on the offensive line do we need to address in the draft? The left tackle class is stacked, and center has pretty good depth. Thoughts? So my first thought is this: let's enjoy 2020 and not worry about the draft until March or April. But I am going to go ahead and answer that question though. And I'm thinking right now you are looking for a left tackle first and foremost, Big Al is out of a contract next year. And I think if it's a loaded left tackle draft, you're hopefully picking at the bottom of hopefully you're picking 32nd next year.
Right.
And if you do, then maybe you look at it then. But right now, I want to just enjoy 2020. I would take a stud center. I would take a stud left tackle. I definitely would think that they are going to look at the offensive line. The nice thing about the offensive line now in Pittsburgh, because of guys like Dotson, because of Chooks playing well, because of Zach Banner with this injury, even though he is going to be a free agent next year, because of the injury, you might see him back. And you might see him back betting on himself again with a 1-year deal. You do have some depth at that left tackle position, on that offensive line. So maybe you do look at a center as well, but I don't think they're in as dire straits as you actually thought. Kevin Dotson's going to be a future of that team, though.
Yeah, I think, provided Banner comes back, and we don't know that yet, I think you have some pretty good young prospects at tackle. Obviously, Chooks is already starting, and I think he can move over to left tackle, maybe next year. And you mentioned Dotson. I think their line is they're building it on the move, so to speak. I would go, if you're picking near the end of the first round, like you said, you're probably not going to get a lot of the stud tackles are probably going to be gone by then. I think that's a prime place to find the Pouncey replacement. Maybe not for next year, but for get him in there and as they say about the quarterback, groom him for the future. Because I think that's where you can find a center at the end of the first round.
You really can. So, but let's worry about that next year. Let's just celebrate 9-0, hopefully 10-0. What we will be talking about on the Hangover next week. But I tell you what, 181 in the live chat right now. We can't do this without you. But if you are on our podcast platform and you're listening to this on audio, we can't do it without you either. Thank you so much for all that you do. Even though that we can't hear what you're saying and we can't read what you're saying, we really appreciate you, all of you. We're a BTSC family, and that's why we do it, and we have a lot of fun. So thanks so much, Tony. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis, and I'm going to speak for you and for Tony Defeo. This has been the Steelers Hangover. We will see you next week. But first, just when you think you've got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.